As usual, on April 15, the sun greeted the bare trees in the morning. Beijing was covered with green. Peach, apple, and apricot blossoms, pink, red, and white, competed with emerald willows. No one ever died on April 15, celebrated as a day of birth. That day of spring, in 563 BC, Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was born in China's neighboring Nepal.
Let me send you off. Leave me a poem, a little poem, so I can treasure words. Unnecessary words should be swallowed. Unnecessary burden, let's toss it away, so that I can keep the poem as I stay behind and treasure words.
Pagpupugay sa isang kaibigan, sa isang kasama, at sa isang makabayan.
Bilang kaibigan ni Sir Mario, o Doc Nick, na sa tawag namin sa opisina.
I'm wearing bright pink because Mario, each time we saw each other, always asked why I was in black again. So I'm doing this for Mario.
I dusted off and hung this old poster from my collections, especially for you.
Dama ko na ang maging wala. Daig pa ang basyong bote ng brandy, masahol pa sa florerang walang bulaklak. Mas puno pa ang papel na walang sulat. Langit ay walang kulay at walang ulap. Disyertong walang init at walang buhangin. Dalampasigang walang humahalik na dagat. Hindi lumulutang, hindi bumabagsak. Walang nililingon. Walang hinaharap. Walang kapuno ay wala ring kawalan.
Among all of us siblings, Mario was the most accomplished and awarded one, professionally. In all the years and despite the traitor ailments afflicting him, he had accomplished so many important and significant things. When he was in high school, he drew inspiration from our Kuya Jun and won in the regional oratorical and declamation contests. He was active in academic organizations and was a member of our high school folk dance group. Believe me, he had the moves. She was very close to our Ate Beth, perhaps because Mario was born after her, and she's the first girl among the siblings.
Daddy scolded me for inventing stories. I might be a writer someday.
Mario liked going to market. Oftentimes, Mario and our sister Lynn would do the marketing together. Mario and I were together in Boy Scout, and we drew inspiration from our Kuya Pete, who in our younger years was the most accomplished Boy Scout in the family. Mario and I both went to UP Diliman, while our other siblings studied in private universities. Both of us stayed in the Philippines, while our siblings established a life in the United States.
There was always fire and light in his eyes, despite his weak body. Fire which I am sure was in his belly at the beginning of his activism, as in the bellies of many young men and women of the late 60s onto the long 70s.
Our generation was taunted as the dawning of the age, whatever it was. To usher it, we thought we had to change the world. We unveiled the future even darker than our youth's darker days. Lucky you who are still young. Old people see darkness where the youth see the light. In our spring and autumn period, we'd let 100 schools of thought contend, and our 100 flowers wilted. We'd fervently prayed to reach the apex even as we jumped into a bottomless pit. Our age simply refused to dawn.
Sa kanyang naging dedikasyon, sa kanyang marubdob na hangaring magdulot ng pagbabago sa ating bayan. Si Mario, kung aalalahanin ko, ay isang halimbawa ng isang generation ng mga Filipino na nabuhay sa panahong tinatawag nating First Quarter Storm, martial law, at namatay ngayong panahon ng pandemya.
Oh Mario, bakit ka naman nagmadali? Sabi nila, marami ka pang dapat sulatin, tapusin. Kung sa bagay, marami ka nang nagawa at nakamit.
Thinking and writing were a lifeline to him, so that in this pandemic, he frenetically wrote a new novel, a collection of essays, poetry which he thought he would never go back to. Somewhere in the new novel, he said and prayed, God, I hope I find myself in this pandemic.
Aking nakilala si Mario nung kami 26 anyos. Kilala kami dahil sa kadailanan, kaming mga 12 pares, mga dirty dozen ang tawag, na kasama sa Doña Andrea, hindi na kami makakauwi ng Pilipinas sa lalong madaling panahon. Kaya nag-decide ang mga Chinese na ipagsama-sama kami kasama na yung mga delegasyon. Nasa Peking kami, doon kami nagkita, tapos sumama si Mario, pumisita kami sa Northeast. Sita ng mga factories, kasama na ang touching, yung oil field doon. Pagbalik ng Beijing, from there, balik kami ng Changsha. Changsha to Luoyang. Doon na kami nagkasama-sama ni Mario. At doon, siyempre, anong gagawin mo? Kasama na yung mga delegasyon. Araw-araw, nagkukwentuhan dahil si Mario nakapag-stay siya sa Pampanga at saka sa Tarlac. Kaya may pag-uusapan kasi siya meron siyang alam na sabihin. Pag-araw, nag-ano naman kami, nag-aaral, nagkakaroon ng diskusyon. Diskusyoning din sa nangyari sa delegasyon, sa mga puna ng delegasyon, sa pamunuan. Saka diskusyon din hinggil sa kalagayan ng Pilipinas at ng kalagayan ng China. Kasi lumilitaw, yung PSR ay kinopya lang sa China, kay Mao Zedong. Kami, nung nabasa namin yung sa Mao Zedong, dati hindi mo naman nababasa, iba. Parehong-pareho. Parehong-pareho, kinopya lang. Ang masakit doon, ang pagkakaiba ng dalawang sa China, isang mo lang ang sinasaka ng isang magsasaka. Kung may dalawang mo siya, mayaman na siya. Mayaman magsasaka na. Isang mo ay 1/50 per hektar. 15 bahagi ng isang hektarya. Dito sa Pilipinas, ang mga magsasaka ay may sinasakang 2 hektarya hanggang 3 hektarya. Okay? At ang mga magsasaka sa Pilipinas, may mga gagawang pambukid. At meron ding mga kalabaw. Ngayon, yan, pinag-uusapan yan. Tapos, habang pinag-uusapan, siguro, hindi nila maano na nagkamali. Gusto nilang takpan yung mga pagkakamali ng pamunuan.
Just about anyone able to muster a handful of followers believe themselves a wise datu who can provide the one and only correct solution. Compromise is perceived as evil. Each group remains a tribe.
Pinag-aralan din namin yung 10 taon na pagtutuwid. Nung tinuwid niya, wala rin natuwid. Araw-araw ganyan, saka nag-ano rin sa bukid, sina Mario. Bigla na lang na inakusan si Mario na naging impluensya sa amin, taga Central Luzon. Tapos, inakusan din si Yves. Inakusan na later ng anti-party at sa anti-revolutionary. At doon, pinatalsik sila sa partido.
One day, my mother asked me where I would want to stay, and I told her with my father. She had to part with me tearfully. When I arrived at the countryside, my father was being held in a room where he was accused of serious political mistakes by few of his compatriots in the special compound in the countryside. Nobody was allowed to see him, and he was not allowed to see the sun. Everyone pitied me and treated me like a little orphan. So I roamed around in the most carefree way. There was a condensed milk factory in the village, and I was allowed to take my cup near the pool where milk and sugar were being boiled and mixed. A Chinese auntie with rubber boots would fetch me a warm cup of condensed milk that made me feel fortunate.
我们在北京期间同甘共苦，克服了北京的严寒的冬天、语言的障碍、工作的压力、想家的孤独感，总算成功地完成了任务。你在北京电台的 Radio 北京的老同志、老同事都怀念你，也感谢你对他们的支持和帮助。
Hindi nagbago ang pagtingin ni Mario sa amin, ang pagsasamahan namin. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin kami. Hanggang sa dumating na umiwalay kami. Kasama ako sa umiwalay, pumunta kami sa Hangyang. Pagdating sa Hangyang, umuwi muna si Mario pauwi ng Peking, balik siya doon.
When Mario was in exile in China, I became his focal contact to our family and to some of his friends and colleagues. Our youngest sibling, Manny, and our mama got the chance to visit him and his family in China. It was a remarkable time for Manny to get to know Mario deeply.
Lagi siyang may bitbit na dunong, no? So mula sa mga matatandang pilosopong Chino, lalo na yung tindig at panghalina ni Chairman Mao.
Marami rin tayong pinagsamahan mula dekada 70 hanggang Beijing, China at maging hanggang nagbalik Pinas ka. Naalala ko tuloy ang isang tula ni Xu Zhimo, one of China's most renowned contemporary poets. 偶遇徐志摩，我是天空里的一片云，偶尔投影在你的波心，你不必讶异，更无需欢喜。刹那间，消灭了踪影。Nagkataong pagtatagpo, tula ni Xu Zhimo. Ako'y kapirasong ulap sa langit, lumikha ng anino sa mga alon sa iyong puso. Huwag sanang mamangha, lalong huwag matuwa. Anino'y maglalaho sa isang kislap. May kasunod pa itong isang saknong pero hahaba. Kaya i-google mo na lang.
I am not Chinese. I looked into my heart. I am not all humankind.
86 umuwi kami pareho. Nauna siya ng konti, tapos ako naman umuwi sa Pilipinas.
After his 15-year exile in China from 1971 to 1986. Mario's coming home from China in 1986 was an exciting time for us. By being home, we knew that we, the siblings, would be reunited, laugh and cry together, and share memories of childhood, and tell stories to bridge the gaps which put us apart in time and distance. And we did just that.
Noong 1988, nung magbalik siya mula sa China, at pagkatapos ng isang workshop sa tulaan, ay inimbita kami sa bahay nila diyan sa may Pag-asa, Bliss.
1990 yata yun, naging kabatch ko si Maningning sa poetry clinic ni Rio at marami rin akong natutunan at nalaman tungkol kay Doc Mick at sa kanilang pamilya at ang buhay nila sa China. So nakarating ako sa kanilang bahay sa Pag-asa, Bliss, no, siyempre sa Antipolo, no. Diyan sa area 2 nagkaroon sila ng unit diyan no. So, sa Valenzuela. Tapos, may isa pa, yung bahay ng pamangkin niya yata o kapatid niya sa BF dyan sa Batasan.
May kakaibang sigla si Doc Mick. No, kasi nung gabi na yon ay pinaghandaan niya kami nila Bim ng isang tea ceremony. Naranasan ko lahat yon kay Doc Mick, pero ito ay very scholarly na tea ceremony dahil all throughout the process ay merong annotation. Ano ibig sabihin ng pagbubuhos, yung pag-inom, kung ilang beses. So, ganun ko nakilala una si Doc Mick, no, bilang isang scholar na maraming alam tungkol sa China. No? Sigit ko pa siyang nakasama noon sa sentro ng wikang Filipino. No? Mahirap siyang na kumbinse na tanggapin yung posisyon. Ang sabi nga namin noon ay nag-emote masyado kung tatanggapin ba o hindi.
Akala ko'y para sa isang bagong daigdig ako sumusulat ng tula. Hindi para sa sarili, kundi para sa kilusan. Nang lumawak ang mundo ko at napasama na ang mga mundong di ko dating pinangarap.
Pero finally, tinanggap niya. No?
Nagkasama kami ni Doc Mick sa Sentro ng Wikang Filipino. Ako bilang assistant director niya. Marami kaming napag-usapan, no? Kasi nga halos 5 taon, no? Kaming magkasama, no? Sa mga meeting ng sentro at pag nag-out of town kami lagi ang roommate, no? Hindi ko mabilang kung anong mga leksyon ang natutunan ko sa kanya sa buhay, sa akademya, no. Bagamat siguro kalahati lang dito natatandaan ko kasi in kanji kasi, no. So, wala pang Google Translate noon. Lalo na sa panitikan, sa pagtula, no, sa translation, no, sa pagsasalin.
I am a Filipino, a product of the Cultural Revolution in the 20th century, must alone go against the tide into the 3rd millennium.
Nitong pagbalik niya mula sa Beijing, ang kanyang naging programa sa buhay para tumulong sa pagpapalaganap at pagtataas ng kalidad ng wikang pambansang Filipino.
Napaka-idealistic, napaka-taas ng pamantayan na hinihingi sa pagpapataas ng kaalaman ng bawat isa.
Hindi lamang pang high school, kundi pang kolehiyo, at hindi lamang for arts and literature, kundi for science and technology din.
That fire moved up to his eyes, no longer crackling and angry, but forged by his experiences into wisdom. And that shone as light for the many young people he mentored.
Pinahuli niya yung isang estudyante na nag-plagiarize. At yun nga, sa halip na pagalitan niya yung estudyante, ay siya ang umiyak. Kasi sabi niya, napaka-ironic na itong subject na tinuturo ko ay ang pinusunod na prinsipyo ay ang kabataan, ang pag-asa ng bayan. Paano magiging pag-asa ng bayan kung ito sa simpleng pag-exam ay nahuli niyang nangongopya?
Malaki ang pagpapahalaga niya sa mga maliliit na tao, lalo na yung batayang masa ng lipunan. Lagi niyang sinasabi na ang paggawa o pagkilos para sa interes ng higit na nakararami. No? Sabihin, gumawa ka, kumilos ka para sa interes ng higit na nakararami.
Ang tula, ang panlasa, pangamoy, pandinig, pangsalat, paningin, at higit pa sa kabuuan ng mga pandama. Kaya, sumulat kayo, mga pinagpipitaga ng makata ng bayan ko. Huwag pamamanhirin ang diwa. Sumulat kayo ng pumpon ng mga salita.
Bilang isang manunulat, nakagugulat ang katangian ni Mario na bukod sa nakapagsusulat sa wikang Ingles, wikang Filipino, at kahit sa Sambal at Chinese, nakagugulat ang kanyang katangian na siya ay nakasusulat ng prosa, ng mahusay na sanaysay at mahusay na katha, at pagkaraan ay nakasusulat din ng mahusay na tula.
I will not forget that day in maybe mid-October 2000. In UP, I think, and we were left alone in the room. I felt his heart's heaviness from Maningning's departure. And he looked at me as if I, a veteran of grief from my own Mario's passing, by then 8 years had lapsed, that I would have the right words to say to ease his pain. And I didn't. I hoped for a miracle, a multiplication of words that would console, that would comfort. But no miracle. Only silence weighed us down.
Father and I. The leaves are shaking. Look, it's the wind. You said, no, those are leaves. Winds cannot be seen. Snowflakes whirl down, an emblem of purity. You said, no, it is deception. It is here to cloak the filth. A lovely object took my fancy. You said, it's useless. I haven't walked too far, but I am feeling tired. Let me rest by the path for a while. When the wind blows, I feel it. When the snow swirls down, I see it. The lovely object I hold in my hand.
The Maningning Miclat Art Foundation was born exactly 20 years ago in 2001 in a loving effort to remember Maningning and to continue her legacy as an artist. She lived her life to the full, for she was a writer of prose and poetry in 3 languages, a most awarded visual artist, and a loving daughter. Mafi, as we fondly call the foundation, honors her memory and supports young artists and poets 28 years old and younger. It offers poetry and painting competition in alternate years. Mafi has become a hub of artists, writers, and people enthusiastic with art and culture. Mafi have published and hosted book launching, fundraising, and featured articles on art, history, and culture. Mario Miclat had a quadruple bypass surgery in 1998. I met him through my wife Edna, who has been his attending physician for more than 20 years. Mario did not only have one cardiac arrest, he had several. He had a couple of angioplasties and had several significant brain strokes. But in all of these ailments, the incidents did not leave Mario with a disturbing gait, or a slur in his speech, or any major disabilities. He just had a temporary memory loss, which came back after a couple of months recovery. With a walking cane at his hand, Mario could walk, he could read, he could talk and exchange views, but the most important thing is that he can write from his memory. He could think far and beyond. As a matter of fact, he could also travel. When the family traveled to Europe to follow the footsteps of Rizal, we eagerly followed them through their posts at Facebook. We laughed when we saw Raj pushing his lolo on the wheelchair, but at different time, it was Mario pushing Raj on the wheelchair. It was a funny sight to behold.
Nakasabay niya kasi minsan sa likhaan yung isang bata na nagkukwento na parang matanda. Siya naman, sabi ko, yung kwento niyo, sir, ay parang kwento naman ng bata.
I believe that our country's history since the 1960s has not only been about Marcos and anti-Marcos forces, Maoists and pro-Moscow communists, class struggle between exploiters and exploited, imperialism or anti-colonialism. Rather, it has always been a history of individual dreams merging into something greater. A history of nation building, economic pursuits, pride of place, and trying to grasp life's meaning.
Mario and Alma are endlessly romantic. Alma often posts words and pictures how she loves Mario, her forever partner in life.
Dalit sa araw ng resureksyon. Para sa aking pinakamamahal na tatay, Mario Ignacio Miclat. Wala kang kalaban-laban sa mabangis na kaaway. Libong sakit dinaanan, lagi namang naigpawan. Iba ang lupit ng COVID. Ito ang aking dinibdib. Di man kita nasamahan sa iyong huling hantungan. Di alam ang susulingan, napalipad sa kawalan. Nahati ang katauhan, mabubuo, di ko alam. Kaya pala nagmadali. Mga tulay pinag-iwi. Inayos, may pagmamahal. Pinaabot sa likhaan. Sang koleksyon ng sanaysay sa akin ay iyong iniwan. Pangako ko, minumutya, aklat itong maitatala. Ang iyong nobela'y naiwan. Ang nais mo ay ganyan lang. Tingnan natin, aking mahal. Nais ko siyang maitanghal. Lumisan kang may iniwan. Hanggang sa huli lumalaban. Sabi niya'y, pahinga na't dami ng pinatunayan. Sa araw ng resureksyon, siya ang sayo'y kumalong. Di kami dapat malumbay. Misyon mo ay matagumpay.
Huwag mo nang banggitin ang dating ng kapangyarihan ng bayan sa angaw na mamamayan. Di pa'y sinilang ang kastanyong kakabayuhin ng bayani sa gitna ng bayanihan. Ang ayaw magsisi sa huli ay dapat daw magsisi sa una, kung kaya makipag-unahan sa kantahan, sa diskohan, sa anakan ng pakikidigmang makilos sa lihim na kilusan. At pagkatapos, di silang ang kastanyo at alagaan habang musmos sa plasa ng kamusmusan.
Mga tula ito na punong-puno ng kanyang mga paninindigan. Gayon din, punong-puno ng kanyang hinagpis, ng kanyang panggigipuspus, despair, dahil sa nakita niya na paghina ng loob ng kanyang mga kahenerasyon at kasama sa unang panahon ng kanyang paninindigan.
Ang inaani ko'y pawang kasipayuan. Narinig ko ang lahat. Tayong nagnanais maglatag ng kabaitan ay hindi maaaring siyang maging mabait.
He deeply believed in always shining the light, letting it fill up a room, letting it refract ideas and old notions.
Napakalaki ng puwang niya para ituring natin siyang isa sa mahusay major poets na naklikha ng ating bansa sa panahong mula nung First Quarter Storm hanggang sa kasalukuyan.
Kasaysayan ang magtuturo sa atin na dahasang tagapagluwal ng bawat bagong lipunan na isinasamay sinapupunan ng lipunang luma. Malawig pa ang kilusan. Sa lawak lamang makakamta ng tagumpay, dahil sa ang lawak ay tayong lahat ng mamamayan. Masdan mo, kulay dugo ang kanluran, pagkat do'y palubog na ang araw. Bukas, pagpula ng silangan, pagsikat ng araw, tayong angaw-angaw ay magkakasamang gagawa.
Matagumpay si Doc Mick, no, sa kanyang krusada, no, nagawa niya ang lahat ang kanyang nais gawin at yung kontribusyon niya para sa buhay, sa kabuhayan at para sa sambayanan hanggang sa pagdatal niya ngayon, no, sa kabila o sa kabilang buhay na kinaroroonan ng mga Diyos, bathala, manunubos at lumikha. Doc Mick, isang malusog at ligtas na paglalakbay. Makikita tayo, paring Doc Mick, pagdating ng panahon. Paalam.
Kung minsan, di ba, ganoon naman talaga ang pagkikita at pagiging magkaibigan. Nagkakataon lamang. We lived parallel lives, Mario. You had your plans and priorities, adventures and misadventures. I had mine. But we shared common aspirations to wave the Philippine flag and to serve the people wherever we may be, and to preserve, enrich, and propagate our literature and culture. In fact, our paths crossed many times, especially during our forced exile in China.
From your new novel called Parallel Lives, which I hope we will be able to put out this year, you say, and I quote, "Parallel lives are lines that never meet. People are given a chance to lead noble lives. But there are those who just ain't got the rhythm and ain't got the rhyme." Close quotes. You, Mario, got the rhythm and the rhyme. Do watch over us.
Kaibigan, pahinga ka na. Payakap kay Ningning, kay Apong Mon, kay Apong Nasyo, kay Kamomoy, kay Milan, kay Rol, at kay Ibs. Maraming salamat.
Mario left on a black Saturday. He will rise to meet the Lord on Easter. Oh, what a glorious journey.
Maligayang bati, Mario. At sana ay magkaroon ka ng luwalhati at kapayapaan sa kabilang buhay na hindi mo nadanas sa buhay na ito. Ang iyong mga tigatig, ang iyong mga ligalig at pagkabalisa sa ating lipunan at sa ating panahon ay magandang senyal tungkol sa kailangan nating pagmamahal at pagmamalasakit sa ating bayan.
Nagluluksa man kami sa iyong pagpanaw, nagpupugay kami sa iyong iniwang mga alaala. Sa Rebo.
So, saludo talaga ako dyan kay Doc Mick.
You, Mario, Doc Mick, our brother.
Kamusta? And in English, of course. Hello! My name's Nino!
Sige, kumusta? Magbabasa kami ng ilang rajise mula dito sa libro ni Raja. Oho, una, anito?
Ano ang tingin niyong lumilipad?
Ano?
Butterfly.
Ay, ano nangyari? Nilamon ng apoy ang bahay.
Was it delicious?
Tumalon ako sa maalat na tubig. Dinig ko pa, dama ko, lasa pa. Talagang malakas ang tawag ng alon sa kabataang nagmamadali, minsang mapadaan sa dalampasigan.
may buhay.